Okay, I think we're live. So, welcome to another week of Mental Health Wednesdays. We hope everyone's been doing well. In light of some of these, you know, unfortunately, some continued things that are on the news these days, we definitely want to just, push our students and families to just be careful out there, and be safe. On that note, our topic of this week's conversation is about friendships ending. I know, yeah, these are all really tough topics. It's on the series of grief and loss. So yeah, I'm gonna allow Miss Laura, if you can, to give us a summary of kind of how friendships ending is related to grief and loss.
Yeah, this is such an interesting form of grief and loss because our friendships, when they end, these people are still here. It's not like they've passed away. If we've lost a friendship due to grief, then there's a different kind of grief for that. But there's this loss of friendships around this person's still around me. I know they're still here. So why did our friendship end?
Mhm.
It's almost like as long as they're alive, like Shin and I have a friendship with them. And so we can get really hurt when our friendships end, and they could end for a number of different reasons. And I like to explain it as it either ends loudly or it ends quietly. Sometimes our friendship end really loudly because there's this conflict, someone's feelings get hurt, something's been done that can't be taken back. And then there's kind of this like quiet friendship ending, which I think a lot of our students have experienced during the pandemic. Our friends quietly maybe have lost a relationship to us based on circumstances. So people move, people are busy with their own lives. You no longer go to the same school. Or maybe the thing that we used to have in common, we don't have in common anymore. So, say you and I used to meet up and play soccer at a league, and now our soccer league doesn't meet anymore. Doesn't mean that we're not friends, but we quietly stop talking slowly because we no longer have that thing in common, which is that we're both not going to the same place. And so friendships can end loudly or quietly, and it's still grief, it's still loss over the positive experiences that we once had. So that's what I talk about today.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I really appreciate in the video how you kind of segment the little subtopics of friendships ending, and thank you for that summary. Yeah, furthermore with the like how friendships end, I appreciate like some of the circumstances in which um friendships are lost. Like, they can maybe mess up, they hurt you, maybe you messed up, you hurt them
Right.
by doing something or saying something. Maybe you see a personality change or a shift,
Yeah.
and negative energy essentially. Yeah, it's awkward sometimes when you feel like you're obligated to continue your friendship because you've had so many years as friends, quote
Yeah.
unquote. Um, and then yeah, obviously circumstances are, sometimes just, if you move, something happens to that person, whether it's them, their family, mental health, physical health. There's a lot of different things that we think about in terms of how, well, how can it affect a friendship, like specifically resulting in the conclusion of an actual friendship too. So yeah, I mean, considering all those things, it's okay to try to tackle, see it as it is, understand as it is, and it's okay to have those things occur. But we obviously are, um, we have been pushing obviously our students, parents, and even teachers to be reflective and understand those circumstances. So I think that's that's a good point. It's a great start to just like take a step back and then look back and see that and how clear it can be in that regard.
Yeah. I think with, uh, you know, conflict between friends, you could work things out. Someone could hurt your feelings, do something or say something that hurt your feelings, and friendships can continue to persevere if you work things out. Say you work things out, but not really, then friendships can kind of, still even start to peter down. You go and focus with focus your relationships on different people. Maybe you start talking to other people more than you start talking to the person that's hurt your feelings. And so you may have had conflict and it could have ended the friendship very loudly, or you could have resolved that conflict and it got quieter. But then with the space, it's made you realize, what if I just don't have things in common with this person anymore? What if they have different values than me? You know, if they think it's okay to make fun of other people and I don't think it's okay, well, then I don't think I want to be friends with this person anymore. Conflicting values. And so, you know, I think a lot of our students feel very sad when friendships end. They could feel like it's very personal. They could reflect on themselves and what they've done, what they could have done differently. Is this a rejection of who I am? And so I think our students can feel very sad for any brief period of time or longer. And that's okay. I want them to know that it's okay to feel sad when friendships aren't the same anymore, because these are pretty important relationships to us, especially in middle school and elementary school. I don't know how you feel about those friendships. Are very informative during that time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, I will say, you know, coming to this point, like my timeline as a human being, like how relationships in general have changed. And then when I specifically think about friendships, I think there's different stages within those friendships, and then also we can't do anything about time. I mean, time is constant; it's gonna keep moving. So that's another thing that also affects friendships potentially. Like, I mean, my friends when I was in, you know, 10 years old versus when I was in my 20s versus when I'm in my 30s, and even looking forward to like my 40s, 50s, 60s, there could be some changes that are pretty dramatic changes for me. So I think those are factors, but I think what you say makes me think of when my friendships have ended.
Mm-hmm.
I think I should be more reflective of why or how it ended, looking at the sequence of events, what happened along a timeline. And then also another thing that's really important is circumstances that I didn't even know about. I assumed this or that. There are a lot of things I don't know. So I mean, we can be friends. Like, for example, if Miss Laura and I are friends, she may not know everything that's going on in my life if I'm not like saying it out loud or expressing it out loud, or even written on paper or text message or email or whatever it may be. She just know everything that's going on, like whether it's like physically going on, like maybe in my household, my family, and also like mentally, what's going on in my head, emotionally, what's going on in my heart. Like maybe I'm not communicating that. So sometimes those friendships can end without having to have it ended because information wasn't available to everybody.
Totally.
Or should it always be? But I think those are things that, you know, I should have considered when I look in the past.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, even with our friendships, I think that we can become so close with people that we expect that we know everything about them or that they share everything with us, and that's just impossible. We don't share the same brain. We don't share exactly the same life. No matter how close two people are, you still might not know what's happening for them. It's like if we share the same brain, and I think it's okay to make fun of that t-shirt just because, oh, we must share the same brain, right? And if I don't like that t-shirt, you must not like that t-shirt. And if I joke about it with you, it'll be okay. No, it might not be okay. And now we have a conflict. And so no matter how close two people get, maintaining a friendship is just like any kind of relationship where you need that kind of communication, trust, honesty, loyalty, respect. And if you don't have those things, I think it could make you feel sad in a friendship and almost make you want to distance yourself from a person.
And, you know, when we talk about special circumstances, the scenario that we've been in here for the last, year, a little over a year, is that the pandemic has changed a lot of different things. And friendships are one of those. And, you know, I know there are students, you know, that are young and also old, and then, you know, adults as well, like myself and Miss Laura. You know, sometimes like people drop off. They disappear. Like physically it makes sense because we're not seeing each other as we typically would in the manner we typically would, in normal life, if you will. And so I think sometimes we rush to blame, sometimes we rush to fear, sometimes we rush to anger. And again, that's another scenario where it's like, there's a lot you don't know, so you got to step back, try to be understanding, and comprehend what's going on here. Again, our last conversation was about grief and loss of like a loved one specifically. So we don't know if that happened to somebody, and we don't know how much that person meant to them and how it's affected that person as well. They're certainly, I mean, a lot of the times, even if people have gone through that experience before, it's, every time it happens, it's just, it hits hard in the same way. So I think we've got to give that leeway to each other, before rushing into ending something that could be actually really influential and very impactful to us. So I think that's, given the circumstances with COVID hitting, man, you just gotta be careful.
Yeah. The survey results are really telling this week. I asked our students if any of them have less friendships due to COVID-19 or stay-at-home orders. And 50 of our students said that yes, they have less friendships and feel more lonely. And we have 41 that say, yeah, they do have less friendships, but have also gained new ones, maybe through online or different things like that. And the main reason is because over half of our students say that they just stopped talking with their friends. And I think there could be something that's like, they just stopped talking to me because they don't like me. Okay, well, if we just stop talking to each other, there might be a reason. And I really appreciate that benefit of the doubt that you're saying, you are friends with this person for a reason. And if they're not talking to you, it might not be personal. It could really be other circumstances going on in their life.
Yeah, trust me. I think a lot of us are going through it as adults too. I'll be honest, from my experience, obviously, sometimes we share our own experiences on these discussions, but like there are days when I just want to just lay in bed under my blanket, not care about the world, and want to just isolate myself. And because I've been indoors for so long and I can't really go outdoors like I used to, sometimes I just don't care and I sulk. Now, it's not always super healthy that I'm doing that as a result, but that's the case in point where we're affected by the circumstances of the pandemic. So please be understanding of one another, and again, try not to rush into ending something. Try to be helpful, reach out to them, do whatever, do your due diligence, as you will, as a friend. And as a person who cares as a friend. So I think that's really, really important. And not only that, I think you go over some strategies. You briefly mentioned it before, but there are ways to cope with lost friendships that you recommended. And transitioning to that topic, I really appreciate you talking about focusing on the positive things that you gained from the friendship. There are times where I think it's inevitable that we do end friendships and relationships. It is for our betterment. Sometimes we understand it. We talked about toxic relationships a long time ago. So that comes back into it. So sometimes it does have to happen for both parties, or how many parties, to move forward for better things for themselves and for their future. So think about that. You can still gain something, and to think about what you've learned.
Absolutely. There are a couple things that you touched on, and hold on, let me go back to one of them, is that there's this kind of influence, that we have when we're around friends. And that's what friendship's for, really, is to like learn and share life experiences with each other. And also this around like what they brought to us is that, you and I are friends, and then I let you listen to a band, and now you love that band. And even though we might not be in contact as much anymore, you think about that band and you're like, oh yeah, like Miss Laura shared that with me, and now I love this band because of her. And that kind of influence, that positive influence on each other, I think is so wonderful, that we could be grateful for the positive influences, even though our friendships have ended. And it might be, some friendships have to end in order for others to begin. And so I have that quote there at the very end of the very end of the video, which is that people come into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And I think that is really important for our students to know, that not everybody's supposed to spend their whole life with you, because you grow into different people having different friendships at different times. So the example I like to give is that, I don't know if this is true for you, Mr. S, but have you ever had church friends, Blanca friends? You've got work friends, and you've got school friends. You've got the friends from your neighborhood.
Different cliques.
Yeah, they're just different people based on different friendships based on different places or different interests. You've got that Pokemon friend. You've got that Blink-182 friend, and you have them based on these interests. Now, what happens if you move schools? What happens if you don't like that music anymore and you have different music you like that you could connect with a different person with? People are meant to change, and that's okay. And if we change or our life changes, then we can have different friendships along the same way as well. So I do want people to acknowledge with gratitude that there are people in their life that have added positively to them, but also that some relationships do have to end in order for you to have even more positive relationships down the line.
Yeah, I mean, if someone's holding you back, then it's not conducive for you to move forward and be released. To literally, like, just think of it as, maybe in some cases it's so bad it's kind of like chains, and there's weight at the end of those chains, and you're trying to walk forward with it, dragging it. If that's the case, if you notice that for many different reasons, or even one reason, again, it's not helpful, it's not productive, it's not progressive. But I think that I appreciate that point, because I think sometimes friendships end in a certain manner. I guess it disqualifies. I know the type of friendship I have has changed. So someone that I used to be close with becomes a friend that I honestly don't really talk a whole lot to, but if we were to catch up, we can pick up off of where we left it and be fine. That's cool. And then there's other friends that are just like, we're always talking. We think about very deep things and have very fluid, just constructive conversations. We can get each other uncomfortable, but be comfortable about topics we discuss, or things we try for new experiences. So I really appreciate that thought. So yeah, saying all that, we definitely want, again, students to be reflective about all these things instead of just making a snap decision type of deal. But with that said, we really appreciate everyone that's been joining on these episodes about mental health Wednesdays. Continue to share, like our posts, and again, reach out if you guys ever need any support.
And we will not be seeing you next week because we are out of school for a 5-day weekend, but we will return the following Wednesday, which is the last Wednesday of the month, I believe.
And that might be tricky as well too, so we'll update you on Instagram and Facebook, but also the week after that is parent-teacher conferences, student-led conferences. So students, hopefully you're preparing yourself for that. We'll give you that extra mental health boost right here. You guys got this. See you in a couple weeks though.
Yep. Take care, everyone. We'll see you soon.